I remember the exact sound before I remember the word. Not the conversation, not the accusation, not even the moment something inside me shifted in a way that would never return to its original shape. Just the sound. A soft, almost careful click, the kind a door makes when someone closes it without wanting to be heard. That's what I noticed first. That's what my mind held onto, like it knew everything else would be harder to survive. I was sitting at my desk, staring at the screen without seeing anything. The cursor blinked in a steady rhythm, on, off, like a pulse I couldn't feel in my own body anymore. My hands rested on the keyboard, fingers curved but unmoving, as if I had paused mid-thought and never quite returned. I don't remember what I had been typing. I don't remember why I stopped. But I remember the way my shoulders felt, tight, but not from tension. More like something had quietly settled on them over time. Something with weight but no shape. Something that didn't announce itself. The room was too still. That was the second thing. No fan noise. No distant traffic. No voices from the hallway. Just the cursor on, off, and then that click. At first, I didn't turn around. I told myself it was nothing, a draft. The house shifting. One of those small, meaningless sounds that happen all the time if you're not paying attention. But I was paying attention. That was the problem. Lately, I had started noticing everything. The way footsteps paused outside my door, not long enough to be obvious, but long enough to register. The way conversations downstairs dipped into silence when I entered the room, then resumed half a second too late. The way my mother's smile had begun to feel. Delayed. Like she had to remember to do it. Like it wasn't automatic anymore. I exhaled slowly, but it didn't feel like relief. It felt like something being released that I hadn't meant to let go of. Then I turned. The door was closed. Completely. It hadn't been before. I was sure of that. Not because I remembered opening it, but because I always left it slightly ajar. Not enough to invite interruption, but enough to hear movement in the house. Enough to feel connected. Enough to not feel shut in. Now it was sealed. A thin line of darkness pressed against the frame. I stood up. The chair made a quiet scraping sound against the floor, and even that felt too loud, too deliberate, like I had just announced something. Like someone might be listening. The thought came uninvited. Stayed longer than it should have. I walked toward the door, each step measured, not because I was afraid, but because something inside me had started calculating. Adjusting. Anticipating. My hand hovered over the handle. For a moment I didn't touch it. I just watched it. The metal caught a sliver of light from the window behind me, reflecting something pale and distorted. My own hand, maybe. Or just light bending wrong. My fingers felt cold. Or maybe they always had been. I couldn't tell anymore. I opened the door. Slowly. Carefully. As if speed would change what was on the other side. The hallway was empty. Of course it was. It should have been. There was nothing there. Nothing except the faint smell of something I couldn't place, something slightly sweet, slightly stale. Something that didn't belong to my room. Or maybe it did. Maybe I just hadn't noticed it before. I stepped out. The floor felt different under my feet. Not physically. Not in any way I could explain. But there was a subtle shift, like the house itself had adjusted its posture. Like it was aware of me now. Mom, my voice came out quieter than I expected. Not weak. Just restrained. As if something inside me had decided not to fully commit to the sound. No answer. I moved down the hallway, past the framed photos that lined the wall. I didn't look at them directly, but I could feel them there, faces frozen in expressions that no longer felt accurate. Memories that didn't match the present. Or maybe I didn't match them anymore. The living room was empty. The kitchen light was on. I could hear something low, indistinct. Voices. I stopped just before the doorway. I didn't mean to. My body just did it. Like it had learned something I hadn't. Like it knew the exact distance where things could still be overheard without being noticed. It's already done, my father's voice. Flat. Controlled. I know, but my mother. Tighter. Not anxious. Not exactly. More like she was holding something in place. We can't undo it now. A pause. Not silent. Just wait. I leaned slightly closer without thinking. My breath slowed. My chest felt tight, but not from fear, from focus. He'll understand, that was my mother again. And something about the way she said it, not hopeful, not reassuring, just unnecessary. Like she needed it to be true, whether it was or not. He doesn't have a choice, my father. Immediate, certain. Something shifted inside my chest. Not a sharp pain, not a sudden realization, just a subtle realignment, like a piece had been moved without my permission. I stepped into the doorway. Neither of them reacted immediately. That was the third thing I noticed, the delay. They both turned at the same time. Too synchronized, too smooth, like they had practiced it. Oh, my mother blinked. Once, twice, then she smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. You're awake, I didn't respond right away. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because I suddenly had too many things, and none of them felt safe. What's already done, the question came out calm. Too calm. I could hear it. So could they. Another pause. Another exchange of looks, quick, subtle, but not subtle enough. My father exhaled. Not heavily. Just enough to signal something. A decision, maybe. We used the money. The words didn't land all at once. They arrived in pieces. Used the money, each one separate. Each one needing to be assembled into something that made sense. What money, I already knew. My body knew. My chest had already started tightening in that specific, familiar way. But I asked anyway, because sometimes hearing it incorrectly gives you one more second before the truth settles in. Your savings, my mother said it softly, like volume could soften impact. The room didn't spin. I didn't stumble. I didn't react the way people do in movies. Everything stayed exactly where it was, which made it worse. How much? Another pause. Longer this time. All of it, there it was. Clean, complete, irreversible. I nodded. Once, slowly. Not because I agreed, but because my body needed to do something. Why? My father shifted his weight. Just slightly. But I saw it. I saw everything now. Your sister knighted it, of course she did. There it was. The explanation that wasn't an explanation. The justification that erased everything else. For what? It's complicated. My mother stepped forward slightly. Too quickly. Like she was trying to close distance before it widened. No, my voice cut through before I realized I was going to speak. Explain it. Another look between them. Longer this time. Heavier. She made a mistake, my father said. Each word placed carefully. And that cost. What? Everything I've saved for the past 6 years. It's not like that. It is exactly like that. My voice was still calm. But something underneath it had started to fracture. Not loud. Not visibly. Just quietly breaking apart. You'll get it back, my mother said it quickly. Too quickly. When? No answer. How? Silent. I felt something in my chest loosen. Not relief. Not acceptance. Just something letting go of the idea that this conversation was still grounded in reality. You didn't ask me, we didn't have time, you didn't tell me, we were going to, when? Another pause. Another failure to answer. I left, softly, not because it was funny, because something inside me needed an outlet, and that's what came out. That's interesting, they both looked at me now. Really looked, like they were trying to assess something, measure something. What is? My father asked. I don't remember agreeing to be. What? Optional. My mother's expression shifted. Just slightly. You're not optional, then why was my decision treated like it was? No answer. Again. The pattern was becoming clear. And once patterns become clear, they stop being accidental. It's family, my father said finally. Like that word was supposed to settle everything. Something inside me went very, very still. Yes, I nodded again. But I'm part of that, right? Of course you are. Then why does it feel like I'm the only one who wasn't included? Silent. But this time it wasn't empty. It was full of something they weren't saying. Something they didn't want to say. And that's when it started. Not the anger. Not the breakdown. Something quieter. More dangerous, a question. What else haven't they told me? It didn't feel like paranoia. It felt like alignment. Like pieces that had never quite fit were suddenly clicking into place. The paused footstep. the delayed smile, the closed door. This wasn't the first time something had happened without me. It was just the first time I had noticed. And once you notice, you can't go back. I looked at them, really looked, and for the first time I didn't see my parents. Not fully, not completely. I saw two people, one who had already made their decision. And something inside me, something quiet, something patient, finally started to respond. The moment doesn't explode. It doesn't crack open with shouting or collapse into something dramatic and visible. It tightens. That's the first real shift. Not outward, but inward. Like something deep inside my chest has been pulled one notch tighter on a mechanism I didn't know existed. And now everything, every breath, every thought, every movement has to pass through that restriction. I can still stand. I can still speak. I can still function. Something has changed in the way those things happen. They're watching me. That becomes very clear. Not in an obvious way, no wide eyes, no overt concern, but in the micro adjustment. The slight stillness in their posture. The way my mother's fingers curl in against her palm like she's holding something back. The way my father's jaw tightens just enough to suggest he's waiting. For what? A reaction, an acceptance, a collapse. I don't give them any of those. Not yet. Instead, I nod again. Slow, controlled. I see the words feel. Detached, not false. Just not connected to anything emotional. Like I've placed them carefully on the surface of the conversation, without letting them touch anything deeper. You understand, right? My mother says it gently. Too gently. Like she's stepping onto thin ice and hoping it holds. I look at her. Really look. At the small crease between her eyebrows that wasn't there before. At the faint tension around her mouth. At the way her eyes search mine, not for connection, but for confirmation. She doesn't want to understand me. She wants to know if this is going to be a problem. Yes, I say. And something in her shoulders drop. Relief. Immediate. Unfiltered. That's when it happens. Not outside. Inside. Something disconnects. It's subtle. So subtle that if I wasn't already paying attention to everything, I might have missed it. But I feel it. Clean, precise separation between what I say. What? And what I mean. Good, my father adds, his voice steadier now. That's good, good. The word echoes not loudly, not violently, but persistently. Like it's testing the space inside my head, seeing where it fit. Good. I turn slightly, my eyes drifting past them, into the kitchen. The light is too bright. Or maybe it's always been like that. I notice the way it reflects off the countertop, creating this sterile, almost clinical sheen. The sink is empty. The dishes are clean. Everything is in its place. Ordered. Controlled. Unlike me. Is she okay? I ask. My sister, the reason, the justification. The silent center of this entire shift. Another look passes between them. Quicker this time. More contained. She will be, my mother says. Will be. Not is. What did she do? It's not important. My father answers this time. Firm. Final. I tilt my head slightly. A small movement. But it changes something. I can feel it. It was important enough to take everything I had. Silence again. But this silence is different. It's not uncertain. It's defensive. You're focusing on the wrong thing, he says. There it is. The reframe. The shift in perspective that isn't really a shift, it's a replacement. A subtle rewriting of reality where the problem isn't what happened. What? But how I'm reacting to it. I feel something press against the inside of my rib. Not pain. Pressure. Like something is trying to expand but doesn't have the space. What's the right thing to focus on? That your sister needed help, and I didn't. The question slips out before I can stop it. Not loud. Not aggressive. But it lands. My mother flinches. Just slightly. That's not fair, no, I agree quietly. It's not. Another pause. But now it's heavier. Denser. Like the air itself has thickened. I take a step back. Then another. Not retreating. Just repositioning. I need some air. Neither of them stops me. That's the fourth thing. I turn and walk back down the hallway. The same hallway. The same framed photos. But now they feel different. I stop in front of one. I don't remember deciding to. My body just pauses. It's an old picture. All of us. smiling, arms around each other. Something about it feels unstaged, not fake, just curated, like it was designed to represent something that didn't fully exist. I stare at my own face in the photo, trying to recognize it, trying to connect it to the person standing here now. There's a gap, not physical, not visible, but undeniable. I turn away, continue walk. My room. The door is still open, slightly, like I left it. I step inside, close it behind me. This time I hear the click. It's louder now, or maybe I'm just more aware of it. I sit down at my desk. The screen is still on. The cursor still blinking on, on, off. I stare at it, and for the first time, I notice that it doesn't feel like a pause. It feels like a countdown. Something is building. Not fast, not dramatically, but steadily. I open the banking app. My fingers move without hesitation, without doubt. 0. The number doesn't shock me. I already knew. But seeing the absence of everything I had built, saved, planned, it creates a kind of silence inside my head, a vacuum. I scroll. Transaction. Date. Amount. Multiple transfers. Not one. That. One. Interesting. They didn't just take it. They drained, piece by piece, over time, without telling me. The pressure in my chest tightens again. But this time it's sharper, more focused. This wasn't a decision. It was a process, which means it wasn't urgent. Not entirely. Which means they had time. Time to think. Time to reconsider. Time to tell me. They chose not to. Something inside me begins to reorganize. Not emotionally, structurally. I'm not thinking about forgiveness or confrontation, or even anger. I'm thinking about what pattern, what this means, what it implies, what else fits into this shape. I lean back slightly in my chair. My hands rest on the armrest, still, composed. And then I start remembering things I hadn't paid attention to before. Small things. Insignificant on their own. My mother asking casually about my savings a few weeks ago. My father mentioning family responsibility out of nowhere. My sister avoiding eye contact during dinner. At the time, they didn't connect. Now they do. Too well. It's not a realization. It's a reconstruction. And the more I reconstruct, the less accidental everything feels. A slow breath in. A slower breath out. Something settled. Not resolution, not peace, direction. I reach forward, close the banking app, open something else, a document, blank. The cursor appears again, blinking, waiting. But this time it doesn't feel passive. It feels like an invitation. I place my fingers on the keyboard, pausing, not from hesitation, from precision. Because whatever comes next, it has to be exact. I start typing, not fast. Not frantically, deliberately. Every word chosen, every sentence constructed, a record. Not for them, for me. Because something in me understands now that memory can be rewritten, that conversations can be reframed, that reality can be adjusted, unless it's fixed, documented, anchored. The words appear on the screen, line by line. Today they told me they used my saving. They said it was for her. They said I would understand. I stop, look at the word. They feel incomplete. Not wrong. Just insufficient. Because what happened isn't just what they did. It's what it means. I continue. They didn't ask. They didn't tell me until it was already done. They expect me to accept it. My fingers hover again. There's something else. Something underneath all of this. I can feel it. But it doesn't have a clean shape yet. Not anger, not betrayal. Something colder, a question. What am I to them? I type it, exactly like that. And as soon as the words appear, something shifts again. Not violently, not dramatically, but permanently. Because now it's not just a feeling. It's a concept, a defined space. And once something is defined, it can be examined, measured, tested. I sit there staring at the screen. At the question, what am I to them? And slowly, quietly, another question begins to form beneath it. Not writ, not yet, but louder, clearer. What are they to me? The cursor blinks on, off, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like waiting. It feels like something is about to be decided. Not out there, not in the hallway, not in the quiet conversations behind partially closed doors, but here, inside something that no longer feels entirely familiar. I lean closer to the screen, my reflection faintly visible in the dark parts between the text. It doesn't quite look like me. Or maybe it's the first time it actually does. I don't smile. I don't frown. I just look. And somewhere in that stillness, in that space between what I was and what I'm becoming, something settles into place. Not a plan. Not yet. But the absence of hesitation. The kind that doesn't announce itself. Kind that doesn't need to. The cursor blinks again. And I let it. Because this time I'm not the one waiting.